Mr. Daniel.
And we're married. And together we are two of the people who make up the team that create all of the Kaleo Kids stories for you guys. So we are going to have some fun today. But before we jump in, I just wanted to thank all of our amazing teachers and guest teachers who have been doing these virtual workshops for us this week. We've had a total blast. Mr. B, yesterday, that was incredible. Your purple lions were amazing. It was so fun to see Tay rapping. The pie challenge was hilarious, and my kids watched the magic trick several times over, trying to figure out how you did that. So, amazing. And then...
Mr. Curtis.
Oh yeah, oh my gosh. Well, dancing with all of our dance teachers has been a blast. But then Mr. Curtis, a few days ago, if you guys haven't had a chance, you can go to our homepage and watch all of these. But Mr. Curtis got me to draw a really fabulous Mickey Mouse. And I'm not an artist. I'm really kind of
grab it real quick. I found it. Look at that.
Hey.
Nancy
For a
never
non-artist?
feels good about her drawings, and it's so good.
It's Mickey.
So,
Like you can actually
thank you,
recognize what
Mr.
it's in.
Curtis.
So good job, Mr. Curtis. And in addition to that, all the other classes that we've been able to do have been so fun. It's been so fun dancing and singing with everybody. The concerts have been fabulous. And most of all, I have loved seeing on Instagram and Facebook all of our Kaleo kids who are joining in with us because I miss you guys. I really miss being together. I miss dancing with you guys and singing. And this has been a really crazy couple of weeks, hasn't it? And so to feel like our Kaleo Arts community is still connected to each other has brought me a lot of encouragement and a lot of light to what's been probably the most confusing couple of weeks of my life. Probably a lot of our lives. You know, being out of school, out of sports, out of everything makes us all feel a little, probably we're all feeling a little confused like me, maybe a little scared. But I love seeing you guys dancing and moving and being creative, and it's brought me so much joy. So thank you guys for joining us here. So that brings us to our topic for today, which I'm really excited about, because today, March 20th, is actually World Storytelling Day. Did you know that?
I did. Now I know.
I told them last night, so, cheating. But, yeah, it's World Storytelling Day. And so we are going to talk about storytelling. And for me, stories and storytelling have been the way that I have made sense of the world probably for most of my life. I've always loved telling stories and reading stories and rereading and rereading. There's books that I've reread more times than I can count. Harry Potter and others. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about storytelling and hopefully giving you guys just a little bit of a framework to begin telling your own stories. Now, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, you probably don't know this about me, I do a lot of the writing for the scripts and the stories that make up our Kaleo Kids stories. And this guy, if you can't tell by his guitar, what do you do?
I make all the songs with some of my friends, Mr. Steve, who you might know, for all the performances. So.
Yeah, so if you've ever done a Kaleo Kids performance or ever seen a Kaleo Kids performance, most likely I was one of the story writers, and he is definitely one of the music writers. So let's jump in, okay? Let's do some storytelling. The first thing that I need you guys to make sure is that you have a beautiful piece of paper. It doesn't even have to be as big as mine. Mine is very large. You don't need a snake, but snakes are, fun. And then you need a marker, at least one, or a pen or a pencil, something to write with. I personally like to have lots of colored markers. Whoops, because it makes it fun. You don't need lots of colors because you just don't. You don't need it. So what we're going to do today, the first thing that I want you guys to do, this is going to be the hardest part probably, is draw a really complicated diagram on your screen here, or on your paper here.
Think you can handle that?
You do it? You do it? Yes, that's it. That's all. Yes. I want 4 squares or rectangles, or mine are kind of scriptangles.
Yeah.
rares.
Yeah.
Because we are going to be breaking down the parts and pieces that go into a story. And this first one is kind of fun. I like to draw a little something extra on here. Can you see me in my David Crockett hat? In a play, when the curtain rises, what is the first thing we see? So this is going to be the beginning of our story. And on our stage, you can draw this picture if you want, you don't have to. You're gonna put who and where are they? So in this first square, you are gonna wanna have the who and the where. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna first make you guys a template, and then you're gonna be able to use this template to start making your own story. So for now, you can just write kind of what I'm putting on here, but I'm gonna give you examples as we go. You don't have to draw the examples, but you can if you want to, if it'll help you remember. So I asked my boys before we started, what should we tell the Kaleo kids a story about?
And they said
They had a fabulous idea.
a boy named Dominic Pizza.
A boy named Dominic Pizza. So we'll learn a little bit more about Dominic Pizza, but that was Isaiah's name for our guy. So the fun part about this first square is that you just kind of get to introduce yourself to your people. So here's Dominic Pizza. He's kind of happy, he's kind of sad, okay? So he's kind of got a squiggly mouth because Dominic Pizza, he's a kid, like most of the rest of you guys. Maybe he has shoes on. You can see, I'm not an artist yet, I drew that Mickey. And Dominic Pizza lives with his family in a house, just like everybody else, okay? So that's what you do in this first square. Now I want to say really quickly, before we get too far in this first square, even though it's the same size as the other ones, it's really only about 5%, can you see that? 5% of your story.
So if you were eating a pie, it would be like a very little sliver.
Yeah, but we're not going to do pie charts because I don't do math, so, and I don't draw straight lines either. So anyways, here's our intro with Dominic Pizza. And now the fun thing about this is that when I've done this, so this is a really simplified tool for storytelling. I've actually done this for stories I've written, and I've ended up with 3 and 4 pages with squares, you know, about this big filled, getting me through the story, and I hadn't even gotten to the end at that point in that story. And even though I'm not an artist, I still draw pictures in them because sometimes as you're drawing or writing words or things, it tells you something that maybe you weren't sure about. Like I remember one time for the story I was doing, I started drawing this lady. And in my head, she was this grumpy lady. And she kind of was always bugging the main character. And so I was drawing her in this one picture. And I started kind of doing this. I gave her a bun. And I started to give her a grumpy face. And then I looked at her and went, you know what? She's not really grumpy, she's more sad. So she was a little bit grumpy, but she really was a sad lady. And I thought, oh, now I see something about her that I didn't necessarily notice. It sparked my curiosity about my own character and got me to start imagining who she could be. So that's why we draw pictures. Whoops, sorry about that, guys. We had to go help a crying baby. He's feeling sad after he woke up from a nap. But he's got yogurt now, so. So what we were talking about was in our first box, where the curtain rises, and we get to meet our character. We get to meet our character and see where they're at. So for the purposes of this video today, we're gonna meet Dominic Pizza. And Dominic Pizza is a guy whose name is Dominic Pizza. And in this first square, that's really all we know about him. Maybe you put something really basic around him, like he lives in a house, he has a little sister, he's got friends, nothing too complicated, okay? And now, as you know at Kaleo Kids, we get to combine written story with music to make these beautiful acted stories. So this guy does the music. A great example of a great example of a song that kind of sets the stage, that introduces our characters and our setting, from the Red Scarf actually, is Here It Is Thus. we get to see the village and the characters and kind of start to meet them. Another one is the swoof song. If you guys have ever done Mismatch or watched Mismatch, if you haven't, it's here on our Kaleo page. You can watch it. It's good entertainment. But the swoof song introduces the swoops and the mayor and Mismatch and Mismatch's life. So we're gonna actually play a different song, and it's also from Mismatch, but it tells about some characters called the YOLOs and their favorite thing to do. And I'll see if you can guess what it is based on the song. So.
We just party every single chance, even if we cannot dance. We just party, never turn it off, never think about the cost. 'Cause who says we have to choose? We have our cake and eat it too. We just party, never get enough, even if you've had enough. Let's party, do 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 do. Hey, do 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 do. Let's party, do 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 do. Hey, do 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 do. We are such hyper little things. We don't need your energy drinks. Only the bored fall asleep. The sun goes ground but never blinks. Maybe we all are reckless. Maybe we just need breakfast. Got on my neon necklace. This beat is so infectious. We'll just party every single chance, even if we cannot dance. We just party, never turn it off, never think about the cost. 'Cause who says we have to choose? We have our cake and eat it too. We just party, never get enough, even if you've had enough. Let's party. Do, 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 do. Hey, do, 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 do. Let's party. Do, 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 do. Hey, do, 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 do. Maybe we all are reckless. Maybe we just need breakfast. Got on my neon necklace. This beat is so infectious, infectious, and hey, do, 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 do. Hey, do, 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 do. Let's party, do, 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 do. Hey, do, 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 do. Let's party.
Yay! So the YOLOs love to party.
They do.
I love that song.
Mhm.
And that song kind of perfectly tells us a lot about them without being too complicated, right?
Yeah, Miss Nancy sent me the story, and I had to come up with a song to that story. And it was, these guys like to party all the time. They don't care about their money, they spend it all to party. And I knew it wasn't gonna be minor. Because that's just too sad. I knew it had
Minor
to be-
means the kind of chords that
Yeah.
he's choosing to make the song.
I knew that it had to be major, and I knew
Major
it couldn't
chords.
be slow, because who dances happily in a YOLO place to a slow song? So I knew it had to be kind of upbeat and fast and fun and major chords. So that's what we did to match
The
it.
song really tells the story of the YOLOs really well. It's very clear. So let's move on to our second square, and this is a fun one, sort of.
Oh,
This one, in square number 2, we meet our problem. Dun dun dun.
oh yeah. Bang, bang, bang.
So we meet our problem. And this is pretty straightforward. It should be a really simple, really clear, really not obvious, but fun idea, sometimes surprising, that makes the whole story turn. So for Dominic Pizza, I'm gonna get my red marker out here. So Dominic Pizza, his problem is that everybody in his world thinks.
Mommy, get a color.
Mommy's coloring, yeah.
Yeah.
Theo's coloring on his page, right? Here, come here. Want to say hi to the people? Ready? Say hi, people.
Up there.
Hi, people.
Happy.
Yeah, we're telling the
See, I got
Dominic Pizza
yogurt all
story.
over my face.
I'm calling people story.
The people story.
So
Good.
when Isaiah said it has to be Dominic Pizza, we were trying to think, okay, what would be the problem with Dominic
And we
Pizza?
decided Dominic Pizza's problem is that everybody thinks, because he's Dominic Pizza, everybody thinks that he loves pizza. But the truth
job.
is very, very different. Dominic Pizza actually loves
I color something. I
You color on yours.
zucchini.
He likes zucchini.
That's our problem for Dominic Pizza. Dominic Pizza, who everybody thinks loves pizza, actually loves zucchini. And nobody knows it. Ta-da! And that's how simple and straightforward you should make your problem in a story. I'm actually not very good at this. Miss Angie always has to be like, Nancy, it's too complicated. So,
No.
keeping it simple is the best. And it's really fun if you can describe or tell the whole problem with a song, which we actually do quite a lot. So, Mr. Danny, you ready for us? This is from
Sure.
the Heroes of Genog. Take it away.
The king and I were really close. I practically lived under his nose. Used to jot down every word. It seemed so absurd. It was my job. At first it wasn't bad. All the beautiful stories that made us glad. But the king, he just got words. Couldn't hold a verse. And I tried
Hey, Mama.
on you, but nobody heard a word. So now I write whatever I want. Keep it all here in my cave. I'll never forgive, and I like to keep it that way. So many poems that don't even rhyme. So many parties that he was declined. Remembers when it hurts. It just keeps getting worse. So many feasts with so much food. No gluten-free options that he could choose. So he writes it down for keeps. Thinks about it when he sleeps. Yeah, he sees the worst of everybody. He'd rather stay in here so he can write whatever he wants. Keep it all here in his cave. He'll never forgive, and he likes to keep it that way. Yeah, I'll write whatever he wants. Keep it all here in his cave. He'll never forgive, and he likes to keep it that way. See, he likes to keep it that way. I like to keep it that way. Just me inside my cave. He likes to keep it that way.
Something like that.
So, it feels pretty different than our other song, doesn't it? So tell us a little bit about how you wrote that song, Mr. Danny.
I knew that I had to have a minor key instead of a major key, because that's happy and that's sad. So he was a lonely person, a lonely unhugger inside of a cave, writing down all his problems. So I knew it needed to be slower and not super happy and minor, like minor chords instead of major chords. And that's kind of where we started and went from there.
Sweet. I just realized I took all my markers to the other room.
Go grab them. I'll get this. All right. You ready for what's next, everybody? So first we had kind of your main character, who, your setting, where. Then we dealt with the problem. The problem is he likes zucchini, and everyone thinks he likes pizza because his last name is Pizza. So now, what's next, Mr. Lindsay?
So, in this next square, let's see what color haven't I used yet. also maybe 10% of the problem. So not quite, pie chart we're working with here. Like why does it matter that Dominic Pizza doesn't like pizza? Well, that's where this comes in. And this, even though it's, oh my goodness, I don't know how to draw a number. There we go. This here, if you can't see, makes up about 80% of the story. And so sometimes what we do is we kind of go like this, and we can make more squares. You can kind of do something like this and have a lot. But what this is called rising action. Ta-da! And in the rising action, that's the whole rest of the story that gets our main character or characters to where we want them to go. And so here we might learn that Dominic Pizza, that everybody thinks Dominic Pizza likes pizza because of something that happened to him in kindergarten. And this is a true story of my sister's, and so I think maybe it's Dominic Pizza's story too. Everybody was filling out all about me cards, the first day of school or so. And, Dominic Pizza was filling his out, and he saw that all his friends were writing that they love pizza. Everybody's page said they love pizza for their favorite food. And Dominic Pizza was too embarrassed to write his real favorite food, so he wrote pizza. Like all the other kids. And from that day on, every little kid thought that Dominic Pizza loved pizza. And maybe at his birthday parties, his mom would give him pizza-themed birthday parties. And all they'd eat was pizza, and they'd get pizza pillows and pizza Legos and pizza everything. And then maybe the next thing that happens is Dominic Pizza's 11th birthday rolls around, and he finally works up the courage to tell his mom, Mom, I don't really want a pizza party this year for my birthday. So maybe Dominic Pizza tells Mom, and here's Dominic Pizza and Mom. Maybe there's this conversation between them. Here's Mama. Here's Dominic. He has curly hair all of a sudden. We'll go with it. And maybe Mom thinks, instead of believing him, maybe Mom thinks, he's just being silly. Dominic loves pizza. Why wouldn't Dominic love pizza? And so she gets him a pizza party anyways. And maybe at that point, things explode. Anyways, you might have 25 squares in this one square to kind of tell your story as you go along. But the thing that you want to kind of have in each square is one dominant emotion, one big feeling that happens in each square. So maybe in this one where he pretended to like pizza like all of his friends, I think this dominant emotion would be fear. You see that? And in this one where all he gets at all of his parties are pizza parties with pizza presents, maybe he's frustrated. And in this one where he finally tells Mom he doesn't want a pizza party and she gives him a pizza anyways, I think this is where our big feeling would be anger. So you don't have to draw all this about Dominic Pizza. This is just for our storytelling. This is where you guys are going to branch out on your own and do your own stories eventually. But this rising action is taking us somewhere that we want to go. And before I tell you what comes in this last one, I want to talk a little bit about right here in this last square, and sometimes I even draw it like this. There's one little secret square that kind of sometimes looks like this. It's at the end of the rising action, but before the end of the story, we get what's called the climax. Can you see that? It's kind of sideways. Here you go. Climax. And at this point in the story, I like to say that the climax is the point in the story where the character's been moving forward and all of a sudden they come around that final bend. Something big happens to turn the story or change the story. It's like the big moment where all of a sudden you turn and we can see the finish line. So we have a perfect song example for this moment in the story of rising action almost leading to the climax, and it's from The Red Scarf, and it's right before the big moment in The Red Scarf. I'm not going to tell you in case you haven't seen it. So this is called Collarbones.
You've been hiding away in the dark, There's a whole world within just a spark. Don't be afraid, look around the bend. Never know what life may want to send. Oh, be brave. Be brave. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Open up your eyes and see the colors of the world out there. Oh. Locking everything up, keep it safe. Missing whole worlds 'cause you've been afraid. There just might be things that you don't know. Things that help you grow you, make you glow. Be brave. Be brave. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Open up your eyes and see the colors of the world out there. Open your eyes. Will you come and see? Open your eyes. Will you come and see? Open your eyes. Will you come and see? Open your eyes. Will you come and see the colors of you and me? Will you come and see?
Kaleo.
Kaleo. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that song happens towards the end of the rising action, where it is very imperative for our main character to be brave. And I love that story. It's a great song. It's a perfect song for that moment. So that song happens, or a song like it, or something. Some big moment comes. We turn the corner, and we see
What do
the
we say?
finish line. And so, the finish line, the fancy word for it, what color? Need more blue up there. Blue's my favorite color. This, the word that we use for it. Oh, almost spelled it wrong, guys. It's called the resolution. You can pause it if you need to decipher my bad handwriting. But the resolution is where, and where we tie up all the loose ends, everything that has been happening in the story to here. Maybe at his party he was mean to his mom, or he was frustrated with his friends, or whatnot. So the resolution comes, and that's where Dominic Pizza finally tells the world
I
love zucchini.
It's got some courage.
Yeah, he was finally brave. Maybe that's Dominic's story. And maybe he makes zucchini pizza. Maybe that's how he tells everybody. Or maybe I don't know. There's lots of fun ways that we can go about it, and that's what this is supposed to set us up to do. So once we have our fun little paper filled out like this, guess what you get to do? You take it show you on here how I would do it. I would take a blank sheet of paper and I would start writing something like this. There once was a boy named Dominic Pizza. And Dominic Pizza was just like most of the other boys in this world, or boys and girls, except Dominic Pizza had a problem. Dominic Pizza hated pizza. Everybody always thought he liked pizza. You would get pizza at his birthday parties, pizza at these things. So you see what I'm doing? I'm setting my stage with Dominic Pizza. And I've already introduced my problem. This is going to be a really short story. If it's going to be a longer story, you can take a little more time introducing Dominic Pizza. Dominic Pizza walked to school one day, followed by his little sister. She was lagging behind because she liked to pick the red berries off of the bushes and squish them between her fingers. It just came to my mind. That's something I used to do as a kid. You know, squishy red berries, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You squeeze the little black part out. And as they would walk to school, Dominic would tell his sister, hurry up, we're going to be late for school. But she would lag behind squishing berries. On one particular day, you see what I'm doing? I'm making the story. Now, normally I would be writing it on a computer or on my paper, but that's kind of what you start to do. You start to fill in the holes and fill in the gaps. Once you have your curtain rise, your problem, your rising action, your climax, and your resolution. Now, the other thing that I'll say, the fun thing about this, is that once you do it, for the piano accident, once you make this, you may start to, like I did with this character here, I realized she wasn't grumpy, she was sad. That was from a different story. But you might realize as you're doing the rising action that what you thought was going to be the climax is actually more rising action, the climax comes later. Or maybe what you thought was the climax is actually resolution, where the bows are being tied and things are being figured out, but it's not the climax. The climax happens earlier. And so what this can do is just give you a little bit of a framework, an outline. It's called, this is like a really, really simple version of something called a storyboard that gives you the big picture of what you want your story to be about. So that's what this is really for. And now, what we love to do at Kaleo is have you guys start taking what we do and you do it yourself. So I've got a couple ideas for you guys of fun things you can do. One, we've got 2 full Kaleo stories on our YouTube page, Mismatch and Here's a Gano. If you want, you can go through and watch them and see if you can figure out what all these things are. Okay, what moment is the scene setting? That's probably the easiest. Usually it's the very opening. When do we get introduced to the problem? When do we really know what the problem is? What is the problem of the story? What's the rising action? What steps does the character go on? In Mismatch, it's really fun because I think it's a little more obvious. You can see the steps that he takes, the journey he goes on to get to the climax and then to the resolution. This one's maybe the trickiest one to figure out sometimes, is when is the exact moment where we turn the corner and see the finish line? When is that moment? When does that happen? And it's, you know, we might all have different opinions on when exactly that is, but I'd love to see if you guys can come up with when you think those are. The other thing that I'd love for you to do is, now that you have your template and you know what goes in here, draw your own pictures. Get a new piece of paper, start fresh, and in the first box, set your characters up. Maybe this time, instead of Dominic Pizza, you've got a unicorn who lives on the moon, and he's lonely. He's the only unicorn on the moon. Everybody else there is a camel. And he's just tired of being a unicorn amongst camels, because everybody looks at him funny. That would be a fun story. My brain's going there now. And so you guys, you fill in the boxes and start making your own story. And if you guys do this, even if you just do the storyboard, or if you start writing the story and you want to read it to us, or to start telling us the story, if you want to post it on Instagram, we would love to see it, or Facebook, tag us in it. We'll repost it if your parents are cool with that. We'd love to see the stories that you're writing, and the stories that you're telling. And then if you want to just start writing and telling your stories in a different way, go for it. We'd love to hear them all. But there's one thing that every great story needs.
What's that?
A finale. And we've got the perfect one here for you guys today. This
That's
is from the
right.
backwards way.
Backwards. This is called, I guess I had it all wrong, which definitely sounds like, hey, they figured it out. They've solved it. They found resolution. Okay.
I guess I had it all wrong.
So for
focused on me that I couldn't see what's actually going on. Spent all of my time to get first in line. Now I realize, don't waste your time, baby, on things that make it hard to love, love, love. I used to think a winner was all I really had to be, to make my family proud, to make something out of me. I was good at everything, we don't doubt it. Said I can be anything that I wanna be. What does that mean? I guess I had it all wrong, so focused on me that I couldn't see what's actually going on. Spend all of my time to get first in line. Now I realize, don't waste your time, baby, on things that make it hard to love, love, love. Sometimes you need to look out beyond your own 2 feet. I didn't see what's out there until I climbed that tree. We all wanna be first, I don't doubt it. Sometimes that's the worst part of me. My apologies. Yeah, I guess I had it all wrong, so focused on me that I couldn't see what's actually going on. Spent all of my time to get first in line. Now I realize, don't waste your time, baby, on things that make it hard to love, love, love. We all wanna be first, I don't doubt it. Sometimes that's the worst part of me. My apologies. Don't waste your time, baby, on things that make it hard to love, love, love.
Alright.
That's beautiful. So thank you guys for being with us today. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned a little something about storytelling. I cannot wait to hear the stories that you guys are telling through your words, through your pictures, through your storyboards, maybe through some songs. Share them with us. We'll keep sharing stories with you. Don't forget to check out our other stories here on our YouTube page and check in next week. We'll have more virtual workshops for you guys to join in on. We love you guys. Miss you.